Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, so this is another episode of Devs at the Bar. I know it's been a full on year.
Sorry to cut you short. It shouldn't be
Yeah?
an episode. It should be like a season now. I mean, you had like six
Yeah, we're
months,
in season two. Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and
Okay.
we have a question we usually ask, like the first question we ask all our guests. So, Claire, what made you decide to like apply for this job, and why should we hire a developer?
To apply for this, I didn't like technically apply for this job. It's just like naturally fall in place. I met Dean, and then I think like when we met, that was like we met last January and in Taiwan, and I think that was also the time when he started to like write assembly and looking at assembly tooling. And since I've got a compiler background, so we just kind of like started, working from there. And but then after we met, I mean, like we met in Taiwan while I was visiting my family, and so then I came back to US. I moved to US, a few years ago, and so then like we didn't really like talk for. Like we barely talked for a few months. I was just like, working on the SPPF assembler until Accelerate New York. I kind of like finished something. I got something working. And so I was like, hey, I've got this working and I'm going to, accelerate to see what it's like. So I guess I'll see you there. And then he was really excited about the new tools. And then so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna like introduce you to people and then see, what we can do from here. And then at Accelerate, like that is like when I met many people in the space. I met Alessandro, Trent. I also met Tolly and Leo. I met Leo in New York as well. And so that is like I started to get into the development community here. And then that's like when I like started to work like pretty close, and then I ended up joining Blue Shift, and then that's like how everything started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. So let's take you back like a few steps backwards. No, not a few steps, a lot of steps backwards. Like, when did you start getting into like computers? And like one question I always ask, and this is a personal one, it's not something we do here, but like I've learned to ask this question: were you a ripper or were you a builder? Because I feel like people that come into computing, there were two types of people. There were people that tore things apart, and there were people that just wanted to build stuff. So like, what kind of intuition did you have into when you were coming into computing? Like, what got you here? How did you get to compilers? Like, just walk us through like the
Yeah.
the entry level journey. Like,
Yeah. Wow. That's like 10 years ago. So I actually didn't do engineering at all in college. I did business administration. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I know basic programming. Like, I know the syntax of C++. I wrote like very basic programs, but never like into programming like serious and then I had like a full-time job after I graduated from college. It was procurement. It was like a buyer operation at a tech company. And yeah, my job was like very repetitive. That was like my first full-time job. It was just like key in, order information, making sure invoice is printed when they clear the shipment. And so, because I was, just like fresh out from college, so I didn't like deal with a lot of complexity in procurement or like strategy. And so like yeah, my job like very repetitive, very boring. And then that was like when I wrote my first program to automate my job. So it
yeah,
used to take us 4 hours for two people
yeah,
to deal with the amount of order of the supplier that we were in charge of. And like with the tool, like I automate the process in like finish in like 20 minutes. And that is when I feel like, oh my God, like computers can do. I mean, like we cannot know, but then you don't like really realize it until you see it happen,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, that is when I realized like it's stupid for like not do it with computers. And then that's kind of how I got into programming. And then my family always wanted me to get another degree in US. And then so I sort of like took the chance to do a computer science degree. And then at school, I got particularly interested in compilers. And so I pretty much started my career as a compiler engineer. And so I've been doing it for like 8 years
Mhm.
at the moment.
Wow. L to the OG. OG. Where was I in 18?
So I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
I would say I'm more like a builder
Mm,
because like I write things to, to solve problems,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're the safe type of developer. You don't seek
Break
carnage.
things.
For compiler dev because I expect someone like Dean to be like a reaper who won't stop to mind. He thinks about the certain things, but when you're
For
writing,
sure. Yeah.
you have to think about all the general cases. So someone who likes order, it makes sense that they would be
Yeah,
also.
I do think like people working on compilers need some level of empathy because like because like the complexity of a compiler is
Yeah.
another level. But then the users of the compilers is like real people, is developers. And so like developer experience around compilers, I think it's a topic that like undermined by yeah, by developers.
Yeah. I feel you. So like what would you say is, and this is like not just like general question, a personal question I have for myself. What would you say is like the biggest bottleneck for compilers these days? Because one thing that it's kind of like, I don't know if this is pseudo knowledge, but I kind of like have it somewhere in my head. So I think it's general knowledge in a sense. Compilers were largely built by, the autistic basement. I don't know if I'm stereotyping the trope. Like those kind of people, not very relatable. They say things and they tell you like, how don't you know this? And then it's only them and only 50 other people in the world that kind of like think like that. So like, what's your general approach to like empathy in terms of like building compilers for like regular people, that don't live in basements? Like, what are you thinking around that? Like, I got a little bit confused when you said empathy. It's kind of like two domains that I couldn't really marry together. It's kind of, yeah, because I get it. The Rust compiler feels very familiar to me as opposed to other compilers. But then it's a question to me that I was answering of, is it because I just learned, or was this engineered to make my life easier? So probably you could just throw more lights, help me answer that question.
Yeah, I think a Rust compiler is definitely doing a very good job on like reporting errors and then helping, developers solve the bottlenecks. Instead of like just giving you a hard errors, like it gives you workaround to make sure you
Yeah.
don't block by this. And I don't really, that's a good question. I've never really like thought about it. I think it's just like I'm a developer myself, so I compile with compilers. So then, like, I just put into like what I want it to be there. But then,
Mm.
like, to engineer it into the workflow, it's actually a hard job. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess
Okay.
like sometimes it's also like priorities because like the first priority of compilers, like the main job of compilers is to generate code that you can run, that it doesn't error out on the hardware or like it doesn't
Yeah.
crash your hardware. And then I would say I would say the second priority is to make it like usable, make it friendly. And then we talk about optimizations.
Yeah, I feel that because like a lot of the time when people are building compilers, it's obviously like from this is so cool. Obviously, this like a lot of building is vision. This is so cool. We should build something cool. But then a lot of people get like, will I say, dissociated from the fact that this is going to be a repetitive machine or tool. It's going to be repetitive. Oftentimes, people would interact with this tool when they don't want to. They're not particularly enthusiastic about compiling. So like you have to, like you said, from an empathy point, you have to make sure that it serves its purpose when somebody is happy to be there, bored, just basically just trudging along. It should provide as much value for different
Yeah.
sets of like moods of the engineer currently using the tool. And I feel like maybe this is short-sighted, but the Rust compiler, because I only write three languages, like so like the Rust compiler is by far the most intuitive to me out of the three of them I write. So like
Yeah.
yeah, I really
Yeah.
get yeah, just like understanding that empathy matters when you're designing compiling. So, yeah, I think this is where we get into the more formal part of this interview, the one that people will probably who listen to us would like want to extract as much information because you're a domain expert and you certainly know things that general public doesn't know. And this is why we're talking to you, So like, apparently, do you want to start with we can just keep talking.
It's like introduction on how to got into compilers and all that, and she really talks about that. So let's move on into like, okay, what's life for you as a compiler engineer? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Right. It really depends on like what I focus on right now. When I just joined Solana, like my work was mainly like building SPPF linker, SPPF, and but a lot of the SPPF work were handed off to be done, another our open source staff. And then after we have SPPF linker, working with the upstream eBPF is possible. So then I spent a couple of months on like sending patches to the BPF backend and then to make sure it doesn't break kernel programs and then how to like communicate with BPF maintainers to express this is what we need. But then like now that is basically almost done, now I'm like testing out on like different programs to see if like we do like find some bugs in the SPFF linker, some scenarios that we didn't think of. And so just like make it robust to be able to like compile, different programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, like you guys contribute to like upstream a lot, and it's like pretty amazing to see. So I'm curious, like how did that start? Have you like participated in like contributing to like big projects like LLVM in the past, or was it your first time? And what was the experience like contributing to upstream?
I think, well, before I joined Solana, I used to work at MathWorks. The company has about like 4,000 developers. So the code base is essentially collaborated by, 4,000 engineers. So like I have experience to work in the large code base and to make sure like it matches a certain quality. The company had like all sorts of process standard best practices, and I now like brought that here when I send patches or work on the blue shift stuff.
Yeah.
And well, like to be more specific, just like because I never really like talk to the BPF maintainers, and so I make sure any single line of like untrivial code, I add a comment. So it's just like small things like
Yeah.
that will help a lot. And then to like make your requirement very specific, simple to understand in the description. And then since like the upstream BPF is mainly used for kernels, right? So then just
Yeah.
First company you worked at give you like the experience you needed to like contribute to upstream. That's very interesting. I probably should go read more of your PRs. The other funny thing, I think I sort of have like an interest in compilers. They seem fun to be. But talking to you more and like seeing the mind of a compiler developer that oh you're someone who's structured, who likes to do things a certain way. I'm not sure I'll be a good compiler developer as well. Because I like to break things.
What I always look at people that work on compilers as people that have like misaligned wiring. Like, why the hell would you like to chew glass?
Possibly. Dude,
Like,
you know, I remember back then, a couple of years back,
yeah.
like I was going through this phase, like this down phase, and I started building a compiler. Like I think it's a trend where like when people lose hope in their life, they start building compilers.
I feel you.
I'm
I
lucky.
feel like I feel yeah, I feel like a large part of people that work on compiler is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Claire, is like being net sniped by people that you're currently like with. I feel like it's a community thing. I don't know, but I wrote more of the compilers, the assembly that I wrote when I was with my guys, and we had like it was their interest too. So it's like I feel like it can get very lonely in terms of, because it takes a while to get the hang of it, and because of that it's very easy for you to be like to just lose your momentum. So it's something I feel like is like you need to see the other person doing it and see the other person doing it, and then all of you are just like multidimensionally motivating each other to just basically bring the best out of yourself. because it can get very lonely. So you can shine more light on that, like how when like you've spoken about how you got into computers, how you got into compilers, but then that's kind of like the good part, right? The happy part. Like the sad
Yeah.
part is kind of like what were your failures like? Because what we want to do, especially for people that will be watching this, is to kind of like make them not end up like Perlin. They should expect the failures. They should expect the hardness, the hard parts of it, just so that they say, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is part of the process, and
Yeah.
this is not just me being dumb." So like you can just like you can just mystify
Yeah.
dark arts of compilers. But like, how was your
God.
process? Make it more human.
Yeah, that is totally true. Since I've been working on it for like, many years, so I feel like I've already got over that steep learning curve. But no, like, yeah, that is entirely true. I recently got a person work on a compiler task, and honestly, like, I think he's losing his mind. And so,
But
yeah, like one of our open source stuff, like we worked on like a libcol stuff, and it's like not very trivial.
Yeah,
And yeah, doing compilers like is a pretty steep learning curve. I mean, like I struggled for maybe 2-3 years, but then I've had like amazing mentors in my career. So like they definitely help a lot. But then I think like usually like people who are into compilers are like genuinely interested in computer science, like in every aspect. Because like doing compilers, you need to know algorithms, higher level data structures to like
yeah,
write optimization paths. But then also you also need to know hardware. A lot of my friends or like people I know back in grad school, they don't want to do or like they hate compilers because they don't want to work with hardware, and that's like a very common reason. Or like some people got like traumatized by working with hardware and with like I'll never touch this again, and then avoid compilers as much as possible. So but like once you get over that hump, it's like it will become easier, and it will become more fun. Because like I think I've mentioned this in multiple occasions. It's like compilers are all designed in a very similar way, so you can like even if you're in a new domain working on compilers, you still can find something you're comfortable working with, and then kind of just kind of like build your domain knowledge from there, and then like this is the third domain I worked in as a compiler engineer. And
yeah.
so yeah, like once you get over that, maybe give yourself like 2-3 years. But then like yeah, I think you have to be committed to it and just to like struggle through it, and it
Yeah.
will get better.
also, another thing, I have this assumption about compilers. They seem development in the compiler world seems pretty slow. With networking, it seems a bit faster. But with compilers, it's like it's the same old thing that has been happening for years, and it's just stagnant to a point when the entire world like just moves. So my question is like, is the compiler world actually slow? And what are like the most exciting things that globally you're seeing done around like compilers?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, like before I joined Solana, like we have 2 releases a year, so we're just like chilling. It's like it is slow. But then also like I think like in compilers we prioritize quality over than anything else, because it's like if the compiler generates a silent wrong bug and then
Yeah,
just like deploy it, then it's
yeah,
like yeah, it's dangerous. So
yeah,
like the safety of the code is prioritized over new features. And then yeah, for like I think like even for LLVM, I try to backport something when I work on the misalignment change, and then they're like we only accept bugs at the moment, and so it's like we only accept bug fixes at the moment. And so yeah, I think that is one reason. And then like another reason is compiler is still kind of a niche field. So
yes.
I won't say it doesn't have a lot of like competition, but like the pool is not that large or like
Mm.
as large. Yeah.
You're actually like the only compiler engineer I know. And this shift
That's
is
not true. Well, if Alessandro doesn't call himself a compiler engineer, I can't call myself one.
Okay, why?
more of like it's just he just sees software.
Polymath.
Yeah, he
It's,
just optimized.
Alexandre gives me polymath vibes. He's just
Yeah.
good at almost everything. I would say everything because I know if he watches this, I know he's at least not good at one thing. I'm gonna find it. But there's a lot of things Alexandre is good at, so like give me polymath
He
vibes.
has these cooldown points. Like when he's switching between domains, he has this like cooldown period he needs before he can like get back to a certain domain. So that's like I feel like
Yeah,
that's 10 minutes. That's when he
yeah.
can get to. But when he's in it. But yeah,
Why does Alexandre not consider himself a compiler dev? I mean, like at this point, what's the difference?
dude.
He he added the BPF back into the Rust compiler. So
Yeah.
like I
Like at this point, I just feel like he's inadvertently setting the bar as like way too high. Because if I did that shit, I would be calling myself a compiler engineer. There's no way. Because there's no way I do that and then I say I'm not a compiler engineer. Then what else? What else? What else? What else? Yeah.
Efficiency or mastery, you don't even care about the title anymore.
Yeah,
You go
yeah. At some point, you just don't give a fuck. Yeah, like you don't just give a fuck about it. So I guess so. Like I'm gonna take the reverse of Perry's question because it kind of like piqued my interest while you were speaking. So it's kind of like I totally get why compilers are hardened because I wouldn't really say slow. I would kind of say hardened. It's like it is at a layer that any small nit affects every single thing upstream. So it makes sense that guarantees are prioritized. But the question I have to ask now is how do you guys ship code that could be upstream very dangerous for the ecosystem and still sleep at night? Because like if I was shipping anything to the token program, I would maybe it speaks more volume as my on my confidence as an engineer. I don't want to put my name on something that makes Solana lose a shit ton of money. Like maybe that's for me, but like I'm just asking for you guys, like the OGs, how do you guys ship like very, very important code at that level? And like what's your process to guarantee? Because like is it just tests? Like do you just test your code or do you like just walk me through the process?
Yeah, this is like what I had back when I was working at MathWorks.
Okay.
We don't really have that here right now. It's definitely something I want to work on in like the near future. So like the company prioritize quality a lot. So actually like quality engineers are treated the same as developers.
Mm,
And then we had I mean like there was like a designated team on like developer toolings, on
yeah.
build and test infrastructure. And then like we had like a huge test suite that just like gave us a peace of mind. Like we just to run that testing takes like 16 hours. And so
Ooh,
like it's like pretty overwhelming if you have to catch any bug yourself. And like the testing follows a certain structure, and also like every feature is assigned with a developer and a quality engineer. That because like if you ask the developer to test their own feature, you might be like, blindsided. So it's like every feature is, has like a QE in charge of it. And like there are certain matrices we look at to evaluate the readiness of a feature. Yeah, so I kind of like keep those things in mind when I work on things here. But yeah, but testing, yeah, I think like testing only gives you like this far, but like how you design a compiler, like every optimization path should be, standalone, self-contained. And so
yeah.
it's like easier for unit testing and then easier to like trace back where the issue comes from.
Yeah.
And then better tooling around like the infrastructure will also help a lot to just like better like I've been working on a control flow graph for Solana programs. I'm also planning to add a data flow graph, and then I think those will like be very helpful when we or anyone to debug a Solana program, because that gives you a visualization of the program. So yeah, like tooling, testing, those things will help a lot.
Yeah. So
Funny,
like typically because like yeah, sorry, Perry, did you want to go?
ladies first. They can go effect.
Yeah. So like seriously. Seriously. So Yeah, so like a huge part of last year, part of like a lot of the things I was doing was like building tooling, so like I feel like oftentimes, especially because of, so I'm gonna say it like this, there is almost no window for entry level developers because of how high the stakes are, for like compilers, basically almost anything on core Solana. But we still need engineers either way. And one of the biggest windows to get those kind of engineers to prove themselves, especially when they haven't had prior work experience, is to build out tools. If you build out tools, you kind of demonstrate that you understand the systems enough to know the problems and build the solutions. So it's like a determinant in a sense. It's not the total determinant because you still need structure. But that was kind of like my part into finding like a role in the ecosystem. So I am using this opportunity for you to kind of like, just like talk about tooling that you would like to see on the compiler side of Solana for probably anybody watching to kind of watch, see what, okay, this is what Claire wants, but probably doesn't have enough bandwidth to build out, and then probably take up the opportunity themselves to build it out. So like, what would you like to see in the compiler ecosystem of Solana? What like sometimes you might not have the solutions for the tooling, but you might have a problem that you really want to see solved. So
Yeah.
that tool is on the table.
Nice. So, well, BP Linker has some like really nice debugging utilities. So like dump
Yeah.
LVMIR, and I'm working on the control flow graph, data flow graph, and my goal is to have like an analysis library, and that will provide like a graph engine where you can traverse a graph, a data flow graph or a control flow graph. And so I'm planning to design like it will be like super easy to write analysis. Like you just have an analysis trait and then define your own like visit rules, and then the graph engine will handle everything. You don't need to like write your, DFS, BFS, or like workless algorithm. So I have like some ideas around that. I think I will like publish it in a month,
Wow.
hopefully. And then yeah, I do have some like ideas around it. So like as I just talked to Carolyn, I'm still looking for my compiler minions. So for anyone who's listening, reach out to me. Like we will find something together for you
Yeah,
to do.
Claire is
Yeah.
looking for compiler minions that should send on that. If you're
Yeah.
interested in compilers, you want things,
I
things
mean,
to
if you don't hate computer science the way Perlin does, you can always jump on it. Perlin always acts as if it's like
you,
some doomsday.
I do not hate computer
He always
science.
acts like some doomsday.
I just have a very last recent plan because funny enough, Claire, the kind of tool you're talking about, I've actually had a project like that since last year that I just stop.
Nice.
It basically was like how would I put it? It's like, okay, first I wanted to be able to do test coverage with the binary like I'll take a Solana program, then I just wanted to do test coverage with it, wanted to turn like the let's say the binaries to basic blocks. Then another time I was interested in like syscall resolving. Then another time I was interested in like Godbots, but for Solana programs. I think I talked to you about it. It's like every time I just come up, I think of things, but I never finish them. Man. Yeah, but
Now is the time. Great timing.
I will finish. So, and this is so FX. I will prove you wrong. I do a lot of computer science.
Please prove me wrong, like so I have kind of like I have kind of like a see-through mindset. I think Perlin already knows this. Like I don't mind failing at all in public. Like, just take it and you learn a lot because if you fail in public, it means that you have like external, sometimes even more expertise, like basically commenting on your work and telling you what you should focus on more, So like, Perlin, please do release the projects, so like, if we want see if we want to roast it, we're going to roast it and then you can move on either ways. You understand? It's still a good thing. I don't think we have a bad culture around roasting in Solana. I feel like we roast each other all the time,
Yeah,
so
I
like,
love it.
yeah, so like just release the damn thing, yeah, so like this is me putting Perlin on the pedestal to release the work he has been holding on to for the last 5 months. So like, yeah. Sorry about that. I threw you under the bus there, but it had to be done.
It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine. Yeah, it is. It's yeah, nice. But
So I think
yeah,
the next question is like areas that you think the tool chain can improve. Like where do you see like this is not even for people to build on top of. It's just for like for general benefit. Like you look at the current state of Solana's tool chain and where do you think it should like where do you think it should head? You know, you've probably done this multiple different times across your different companies, like your work experience. You could just basically just point us in a direction or point the conversation in a direction. Where do you think
Mm.
it should be in next few years, like down the line? What do you want to see built across the tool chain?
Yeah, so like the one of the selling point of like developing on Solana is that you can just write Rust, right? But then like what's the point of like writing Rust, but then you can use normal Rust tooling? That
Hmm.
doesn't make much sense. So then that's like the whole point we do upstream. We adapt the upstream compiler to be able to generate Solana programs. Is that I think like that solves like developer experience once and for all is like it will be compatible with all the other Rust toolings, and then you just compile the program as like you normally compile any Rust programs, and that has been going honestly like going pretty well because like the reason why like that wasn't really like possible is because BPF backend has many limitations, but
Hmm.
then now all the limitations that we were aware of will all be addressed in the next LVM release. So like the next release will be able, like we've been using it to like test out, different Solana programs and it's been working really well. So I think like it's realistic to have the upstream compiler be capable of generating Solana programs like by the end of this year.
Wow. Wow.
honestly, honestly, that's like a really
I need
wonderful
to do
goal.
more
Like,
with my life.
you know.
Mm. Wow. And this is all from Blue Shift, right? Or is it like
Um,
broader collaboration or broader collaborative effort?
mainly, mainly from well, so like some changes Alessandro and the Aya community has been pushing for many years,
Yeah.
and but then the BPF maintainers like they started to use Rust to write kernel programs. So I think like now it's easier to like upstream stuff for to address issues for Rust. And so like we send out patches and like we created a BPF linker, but it's I would say like it brings up like all the effort that people have been working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super cool. That's super, super cool. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
we kind of like are done. Or if Barely has any question, I feel like this is just to get to know what you'll be working on next. Like apart from like the tool chain, your community. You said your compiler. I forgot the word you used. Your compiler. Did you say minions? Like
Compiler minions.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like looking forward, like what would you like the kind of people you'd like to see? Like, what's your strategy for recruiting the next guys? Like so that anybody that is watching can basically optimize. Well, don't be fake. If you're watching this, don't be fake. You need to have a genuine interest in compilers, but like just basically talk about your strategies. So like whoever is looking in that direction, this can just be like an opportunity for them to know what to do to kind of like match make, so that you can
Hmm.
get more people in your
Yeah.
boat, you know, as continue your journey on Solana. So
Yeah.
like,
Mm, yeah. Like having interest is the most important. And I mean, like everything's open source, everything's out there. And I think like the best way of learning it is just by doing it. And I think we're the best people to reach out if you're interested in this kind of stuff, like compilers, SPPF, assembly tooling. And yeah, I mean, like just like reach out to us and then we'll find something interesting, for you to do. I
mm,
myself take mentorship really serious because I've been there,
okay,
and I think like good mentors can shortcut your learning path. And like I've got people without any compiler background to work on compiler stuff, and it's usually like pretty cursed to work on compilers, but the one we have here, we've been like adding tooling around it to make it like easier to set up. And so like I've got an intern to work on the optimization path, And like I think it only took him maybe a few hours to set out everything, and then he could like get started working on the actual stuff the next day, which is I think is amazing. So yeah, like I think like having interest is the most important, and it's okay like if you don't have any background in compilers. Like I understand it's not the easiest thing in the world, and it's totally okay to ask, any stupid questions or like
Mhm.
having stupid ideas. Yeah.
So you guys, you heard it like in a world of maniacal mentors, Claire is one of the patient ones. So like she's probably is one of the best if you're going to be if you're interested in compilers and you want to dabble in the next few years, you want to throw the next few years of your life into the compiler ring, probably reach out to Claire. Like probably Perlin, you can put Claire's X on the like in the I don't know how you do it, just paste it, do the stuff, so yeah. So
You don't
yeah, so like you can chat to Claire, you know you can reach out to Claire, and I don't know, Claire, yours will be to check your DMs, because like Twitter has this weird thing where even when someone is not like spam message, it kind of like gets lost in the what's the word, I forget what it is, but it just gets lost, and then
Oh,
like
really? I
yeah,
didn't know.
yeah,
Hmm.
people that I actually wanted to talk to from a few months ago, they just end up there, and it just feels like you are leaving them on red, so like I
Okay, yeah,
think
I'll double
yeah,
check.
I think
Yeah.
this guys is my contribution to society. I just told Claire to check her unread messages, so like if your message is there, and she replies you, just leave a thank you for me in the comments, because it's not easy to do what I do to motivate.
on this guy. Also,
It's not easy to do what I do to motivate OGs to check their
like,
this.
was
Yeah.
really egoistical. Why are developers like that?
Like how? I didn't get that.
Like a lot of developers have big egos, like big egos.
Big egos.
Yeah.
Hmm, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think like the best people I've met, almost like none of them have egos. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it is I feel like it's the outcome of the process, because I feel the level of failure and determination and discipline that you would need to kind of like get on the other side. Like I feel like ego has to be a residue. Like it just has to. There's a lot of personal self-drive that you need to kind of like get on the other side. And it doesn't automatically leave when you get on the other side. So
Mm.
people, behaviors that are rewarded harden. If I have always gotten like good outcomes by believing in myself and trusting the process and doing what the hell I want, I'm just going to carry it with me, even with like, even when I'm you know. So it doesn't really just die off, because you're now an OG or you have more expertise. So I feel like at the end of the day, it's kind of like both the mentor and the mentees, you gotta be, empathetic towards the other person, like especially people that, like get hurt easily. If you're a softie and you're coming to the space, not everybody's out to get you. We just have different empathy levels, and things that you might consider mean are not really mean to the other person. So I feel like more effective communications. But like as for big egos, I feel like it's just a residue. Like look at the top 10 hardest things to do in the world, and I will show you the biggest, fattest egos in that category. And it's like it's a telltale of what you need to get to that point. So I don't know. It was nice talking to you. I learned a lot. One thing is one thing is whenever you feel like it's hard, it's supposed to be like that. It's kind of like the mountaintop. When you start running out of oxygen, that's what differentiates the people that get to the peak from the people that actually go back down. So it's supposed to be hard to stay at it. And maybe one day, one of you watching this is going to be an OG like Claire. So, Claire, it's been nice talking to you. Hopefully, we talk again at London. I don't know if we're going to catch, but if we catch, hopefully, we talk again. And
Nice. I'll see you guys there.
yeah, this has been a nice. So, bye.
Yeah, thank you guys. I had lots of fun. Thank
Yeah.
you.